PlayStation is cooked, and rightfully so. This is gonna have a massive repercussions. People are not taking this, and rightfully so. We are the consumers. We decide if you are successful. We buy your products. We decide what's good and what's bad. And the moment that you dare talk down to us, when you think you know better than what we want, when you just flat out mistreat us, is the day your company's toast. And PlayStation is gonna have to learn this lesson pretty hard, it seems like. Now, granted, obviously, there's gonna be a couple of people who are like, my $1,000,000,000,000 company, leave it alone. And we call that autism. Sometimes a gift, sometimes a curse. It's a 50-50 at this point. In any case, they're not gonna be enough. PlayStation is gonna lose massively. You think the Xbox layoffs were bad? Wait until PlayStation now gets to see the fruits of their labor. People are pissed, and rightfully so. Every single time a company dares to go against us, dares to not do what we demand of it, dares to say it knows better than us, that's when that company should no longer exist. And that's gonna happen many times. They demand we change. Well, turns out I'm very progressive and I have decided to be non-binary. How about fucking that, eh? Yes, boys. Very brave, very stunning. My wallet's closed. I am non-binary. Let's see how PlayStation likes that.
PlayStation's own website tells the story about a future in which we're all concerned about that we're headed for. It's a game like The Last of Us Part 2 Remastered. You could say it's about a bunch of other titles. People have been doing it all week, but this game specifically released 2.5 years ago, and if you want to get a digital copy of it on the PlayStation Store, it's going to cost you $50. Want a physical copy? You can go over to Amazon on their official PlayStation Store, and you pay about half that price. This is what PlayStation is about to kill. This is why all of this matters, along with a litany of other reasons that Sony wants everybody to ignore. The outrage is not going away. This is the scandal of the century for Sony thus far. As Forrest puts it, Sony's PlayStation disc decision is its biggest scandal in 20 years. It's up there. It is up there with the PSN hacking, with how bad that was for Sony's reputation.
It hasn't Sony gotten hacked like pretty much every month after this point, by the way?
It just feels like a moment in time in which the executives...
I'm pretty sure I remember seeing at least 2 different situations where they got hacked in the last half a year.
Just don't really care anymore. Like the previous people that were in charge, Andrew House, Shuhei Yoshida, Sean Layden, they had a better grasp on consumers and what they wanted, and they were listening. That's why they dominated the PlayStation 4 generation. And they were able to...
Well, these CEOs have a grasp on money and more money.
Mock and tease at Xbox's incompetency, but unfortunately the people that run it these days, Hideaki Nishino and Herman Holst, they just put their fingers in their ears and they're hoping that people just move on. That is not happening, and it doesn't feel like that this is going away, even if Sony wants to ignore all of the noise and all of the anger and hatred that is being thrown their way for their decision that they made a couple of days ago. And it's stories like this, which came a couple of months ago, which kind of went under the radar, that has people, again, there's just so many different concerns mounting up. It's like Sony PlayStation accounts are reportedly being hacked with ease. This is something that games journalists, or previous games journalists, now podcaster Colin Moriarty went after. It was done easily. He had some PlayStation contacts that allowed him to have access to regain access to his account, but that is not...
Oh yeah, I remember hearing about this. This guy's a super Sony glazer. And obviously, he is not gonna change anything about this. This whole guy's shtick is just living from the PlayStation teat.
To regain access to his account, but that is not a luxury that everybody has.
And by the way, the fun part is, Sony literally didn't do anything to help him. He needed to find influential people at top of Sony who he could contact to get this done. It's absolutely hilarious. Sony didn't even move a muscle to help the guy who has pretty much spent his whole life trying to glaze and worship Sony. That was so hilarious.
has. And this is just another reason why it's absolutely fucking insane here in the year of
This is the new Dead by Daylight. Meet your potential girlfriend. Literal goddamn Shrek too. Nice.
2026 that Sony is going to make this the exclusive method for playing and buying their games. We all run the risk that our entire library of games in the future could be gone due to some AI bug that deems our account needs to be shut down, or something happens and we're unable to use it for a couple of years, and Sony's terms of service make clear that after 3 years they can just terminate the account. That means all of your games, all of your...
Yeah, this is just literally taking your account hostage. They need you to log in. They want to... This is effectively... You know what this is? This is effectively currently the same tactics that free-to-play games use. Log in 10 days straight, win over the VOD, but Sony has kind of taken this, don't log in and your stuff's gone. We're gonna see which one is more effective at this point. And by the way, some people have already defended that and said 3 years. I don't care if it's 20 years. Mine is mine. I like my stuff. And anyone who says my stuff isn't my stuff is a problem.
Digital media is gone. All of this is why this matters to people, why people are so goddamn pissed. But yes, if you have been living under a log or rock or whatever the last couple of days, Sony announced at the beginning of the month that physical disc production is ending in January 2028 for new games releasing on PlayStation consoles, and people are not having it. They are absolutely livid, and there's some interesting things happening here that need to be mentioned, such as a Sony executive, president, and CEO sold 225,000 shares just a couple of days ago. Very interesting. Nothing notable about that. Not eye-opening. That's sarcasm, obviously. But in the investing world, it is worth mentioning that they are happy about this. They're actually excited about this digital-only future, and their stock actually jumped a couple of percentage points because of that. Now, did the investing world and Sony expect the amount of pushback that they're getting? I don't think so. But I do think that Sony in this investing world...
I think the big takeaway in that is that they didn't care. They didn't care. Now they're gonna start caring when things turn bad and people stop. Like, honestly, just the fact that they're bumping up the PlayStation Plus subscription cost is gonna already be a disaster. Xbox is already starting to understand that you can't bump up the price every year by 25% and expect everyone to stay. At some point, you're gonna start losing money.
Is thinking that eventually people are just going to get tired and move on. I think the damage is permanent damage that's going to be felt not just with the PlayStation 6 generation, which is approaching, but right now with the PlayStation Plus subscription, the mass cancellation of that. Money talks, and if enough people cancel, Sony is going to be forced into reacting in some way, and that's what people are hopeful for, that some sort of reversal happens, even if it looks slim right now. People are still hopeful that Sony is going to be pushed into a corner and doing the right thing by consumers.
And by the way, again, a boycott is very possible. I made a video about this not too long ago, but the too long didn't read is, the reality is 5% of PlayStation Plus subscriptions getting canceled is enough to scare the living shit out of Sony, probably. 10% definitely is going to get the job. And those are not giant numbers. We did this for Xbox, granted, but the math stays probably the same for Sony also. Just the number of how many people need to cancel it changes. That's it. You don't need a lot. Just 5% PSN subscription cancellation means that Sony is not going to have enough money for their newest projects, and that's going to, well, force things to happen. You do not need a lot.
We'll see what happens in that regard. But Sony, for the most part, has been silent since the outrage emerged. A lot of people believing that this was deliberate, that Sony wanted to wait a couple of days before finally coming about and getting back to business as usual. People are not letting them do that. As Polygon writes, PlayStation finally breaks media silence and it's going terribly. Fans are still fuming over the company's end to physical disc production. Yes, they began the early morning of yesterday with giving a spotlight to their Flex Strike wireless fight stick, and as you can see, 62,000 comments 16,000 retweets, many of them quote tweets, and only 10,000 likes, and just a bunch of people going after them. Obviously, I had to jump in with my own boo, and it is just a non-stop. I know your PR strategy for over 20 years has been to sit things out and ignore noise, but something tells me that won't work this time. Is this a digital controller? We don't care. Bring back physical discs, you absolute walnuts. Can I play my physical games on it? Thought you could wait it out. Domino's Pizza even jumped in. Did someone order digital pizza? Give us physical discs with some
Domino shit doesn't stop now, does it?
somebody putting their discs together to say F Sony. Sony, there's something you should address. Bring back physical games. No disc, no buy. We want to own our games. And it goes on and on and on with so much anger that is being thrown at this company. They did continue posting. They had a couple more posts, and it went as well you expect. They talked about their PlayStation Plus monthly games for July, and it's just a comment section of people going after them again. Even some community notes, with one saying they think we gonna forget. Then they followed up with another post, this one hyping up the blood of Dawnwalker. This is just a unrelated third-party game. Rebel Wolves, I feel bad for them.
A really good game.
Former CD Projekt Red team. It's happened again for them. Happened with GTA 6 a couple weeks back. But yeah, them getting just getting hate for no reason, unfortunately, just because Sony decided this was the time to market that game or give a spotlight to it. And yeah, they even got a community note on this post saying, additional context, PlayStation is attempting to create an illegal digital monopoly by forcing the purchase of licenses to occur only through their storefront. A synthesized monopoly has been proven illegal through previous lawsuits such as US versus Microsoft, and there'll be more on that lawsuit front later in this video, because yes, Sony is facing legal action.
Sony's already, by the way, facing legal action. They're just gonna face more legal action. Don't think that they're only going after, by the way, Steam. Like, Xbox, Sony, all of these places are getting sued left, right, and center also.
Over shit like this, but
though we only care about Steam because Gabe deserves his 5th yacht, 10th mansion, or whatever, honestly. I'd fully support him. If I could donate money straight to Gabe, and I would.
Yeah, this post specifically about the Blood of Dawnwalker, 15,000 comments and only 3,000 likes, and yes, just bunch of comments going after them again. And then they finished the day with a retweet of Doom. That did not go well, with the community note saying again that people weren't
retweeting Doom. Oh no! Plus, this one's a disaster. Like, it's so sad and boring that I didn't even talk about it.
Forgetting people in the comments saying, sorry, PlayStation, we saw this retweet, no disc, no buy. Yeah, it really is that bad, and there's just many more posts that people are coming up with. Don't kill video games. Ooh, I stepped on shit. And they put the PlayStation logo. Poorly aged things. Quote tweeted them saying, I don't understand this physical product. How do I download it? And even Insomniac Games, they're trying to market Wolverine right now because, yeah, that's the big first-party game from PlayStation coming this year in a couple of months, and again, just tons of comments going after Sony in these, like this one. I'll think about it. Don't even.
God, the Wolverine launch is going to be so trash. It's going to be great. What do we actually think about the Wolverine launch, though? What do you think the peak is going to be on Steam? Is it even on Steam? Or is it just a PlayStation thing? I'm not sure. But man, what are we thinking about Wolverine? The reception against it is pretty bad because Jean Grey looks like a man. It's I don't think it's gonna be great, but I don't think it's gonna be that bad because, again, this is just something we haven't had in forever, so super fans are gonna jump in. So if it launches on Steam, I'm expecting 50 to 65,000 peak, maybe. I mean, it's hard to tell because I haven't actually followed it so much, but just from the very little that I have seen of it and made fun of it, it does look like a 50 to 65k peak.
Know if I want to buy from Sony anymore, regardless. LOL. No PlayStation for me, no physical, no console, which is funny because a couple weeks ago, after the GTA 6 controversy, Insomniac Games came out saying, yeah, like Wolverine's gonna have a physical copy, and then Sony kind of undid all of that positivity with their decision. Yeah, like I said, it's just so many posts right now under all of PlayStation. This is.
Wait a minute. Why did this become red?
Then Sony.
When Wolverine cut it in a strange Cuts like this, red appears. Dude, why?
Kind of undid all of that positivity with their decision.
So Wolverine's claws now generate heat?
Yeah, like I said, it's just so many posts right now under all of PlayStation. This is not going away as much as they hope for it. It is not. Sony telling Insomniac, okay, okay, try to tweet, and they're getting a beating too. Unfortunately, though, there are some bootlicking that is happening. It's very small in comparison to the amount of outrage being thrown at Sony, but you still have tweets like this going around, which, oh my god, almost 3,000 comments on it. But yeah, some people saying, I personally don't care that there aren't going to be any more physical discs for PlayStation. I haven't bought a hard copy game in 10 years. I play the
Oh my god, I think I have seen this, and people, needless to say, are correctly responding to this. Oh! These people are like, oh, I don't care about this thing, so why does everyone else care? Dude, some people just don't have the ability to think forward even a single step. Why should you care about the world that you live in? This is the tweet, effectively. Why should you care that things are getting worse?
game, enjoyed, and that's it. I never understand the outrage, which is just a misunderstanding of how having a physical side is so important to player choice, and just having that there, having a second-hand market, it keeps a company like PlayStation in check. But also, when you don't have a true competitor like they used to have, they feel enabled to do shit like this. But all of this outrage, all of this, it does need to be mentioned that there is some rumors and some leakers and insiders indicating that Sony surprised a lot of third-party publishers.
Wait, this is Horizon. What's it called? Not Forbidden West, but this is the new Super Vogue Horizon thing because it looks like a cartoon because it's meant for mobile.
When they made this decision.
Hunters gathered. There we go.
And even employees within their own walls. This is a report coming from High Chaos Run, citing their own supposed sources, saying PlayStation killed discs without telling its publishers or business partners. Sony blindsided publishers and partners by killing PlayStation physical discs in secret. And the article cites sources familiar with the company's plan, speaking to me on condition of anonymity, fearing retribution, have stated that PlayStation's decision was a unilateral one. Publishers weren't kept in the loop, and neither were its business partners. And this is a quote coming from an executive at a major AAA publisher. Despite our seemingly close working relationship with PlayStation, we were not informed that this was happening. It's only hitting us now that we may be out of jobs sooner rather than later. And yes, a lot of employees are going to be fired because of something like this. Not just inside of PlayStation, but many other companies that are still in charge on the retail side, which Sony is essentially killing. Now, sources say that the secrecy extended to keeping regional offices out of the loop as well, probably why it didn't leak, so much so that PlayStation's India operations, for example, were negotiating deals with local distributors and retailers to invest and set up exclusive PlayStation brick-and-mortar stores with an eye of having 100 of these in India by 2028. I guess those plans are...
Dude, that is insane. Why would you do that in India? They're gonna get nothing.
Basically dead. Why would we even work with PlayStation, let alone invest a couple of Indian currency on a store when they won't be selling discs, says one investor that was approached. What's worse is, PlayStation India didn't even tell us that this was happening before it went public, but kept asking us to put money in all the same. They didn't know either. And they finally mentioned that...
By the way, this is insane. This is like a bunch of lawsuits. There's gonna be a bunch of lawsuits because of this. New ones.
Conversations with the console giant in private have been frosty, this apparently coming from publishers. Those privy to such communications claim an attitude of condensation, with PlayStation going as far as telling them to take it or leave it. And yes, I truly believe this, a company that already knew that they're going to get backlash, but they don't care. Because that PlayStation 4 generation, where they went on this massive mission to say that they were there for consumers, that those people are all gone. They were replaced by people that are focused on money, and that's what this decision is all about. It's about capitalizing on a market in which they don't have any true competition, and they feel enabled to do something like this now. And the ramifications is that...
Dude, by the way, have you even thought how actually bad this is going to be for PlayStation? This is devastation. So, first of all, the insane amount of boycotting that's going to happen because of this, the amount of subscriptions they lost, which are two separate things, by the way, the future sales that they're going to lose because of the boycott, And their sales are already not looking good. We know that the current PlayStation games lineup for the AAA part is fucking woke shit. It's all just woke garbage. Look at this. This is intergalactic planetary heresy or whatever Druckmann Cuckman thing this is supposed to be. This is super woke garbage. This thing is gonna be a massive disaster. Sony have already lost probably near 2 billion easily in potential revenue and expectations from all of the disasters. It's so bad that they want to return to live service games because those at least can get at least some sort of minimum income per month. And now they just did this on top? Like, dude, Sony is in for a nightmare very, very soon.
It's going to destroy this industry in so many different regards. The consequences are immense, but Sony executives don't care about that at all. But there is also the flip side of this, the backlash. It's not even just extending to, the gaming side is.
I love that the head shaving is justified with the fact that you need to hide your identity. Yes, I'm sure shaving your head is gonna work so well.
One thing. Sony has a big movie coming out, and they're actually trying to market it right now in Insomniac's Spider-Man 2. Like, it got a cool update. Like, they added the Spider-Man brand new date suit to the game. That was kind of cool until, Sony kind of killed the hype for that one. But as this article from Cosmic Book News says, Spider-Man Brand New Day Countdown gets buried by PlayStation disc backlash. Yeah, so the official Sony account tried hyping up the movie coming out in 30 days, and as you can see, 9,000 comments to 10,000 likes, and one of the top comments under it saying, "Man, fix your PlayStation department, F all that Spider-Man shit." That is one hell of a ratio. But again, there's just so many other comments. F you. Throw this in the trash, please, mocking the announcement that they made years ago with Shohei Yoshida when they mocked Xbox at the time. Another comment saying, "If we buy the movie afterwards, will we own it, or are we just renting it until the license expires?" And they posted a picture saying, "PS6, cancel your pre-order for PlayStation 6. This action cannot be undone." And there's just so many more comments pretty much just like this. And Sony continuing to try and ignore this outrage. But the PlayStation community is starting to come together in some other regards, such as a petition to show just how angry the overall gaming community is at Sony for this decision. As Digital Foundry says, "Don't kill the disc. Petition against Sony PS5 and PS6 digital media plans reaches 150,000 signatures."
The signatures don't matter.
And this is actually something that was started by Jade Pierce, CEO of an independent Canadian games retailer, and offers a good summary of the arguments against the change. And this petition now has over 200,000 signatures. I'm sure by the time you guys are watching, probably be over 210, 220,000. I will have a link in the description to it if you want to sign it, check it out. But yes, this petition says that the irony is hard to miss. At E3 2013, Sony won over a generation of players by promising that when you buy a PlayStation game, you can trade it in, sell it, lend it to a friend, or keep it forever, and famously mock the competition, Xbox at the time, for trying to restrict exactly that. 13 years later, Sony is the one taking it away. How so much has changed over the last decade. A disc is a real game you own. You can lend it, trade it, resell it, gift it, collect it, or pass it down to your kids. A box with only a download code is not the same thing. It is a digital license in plastic packaging. You do not own it.
Again, granted, the disc is also just a digital license. Every single disc that you even probably currently own has some kind of identifier thingy in it. If your game requires the internet to install anyway, even if it's on a disc, it has some kind of identifier in it. That means that your copy can actually be banned. So having a physical disc doesn't mean victory in this case. The battle is going to be a little bit more than that, sadly.
Renting access that can be revoked, and people have already had purchased movies deleted from their libraries and games pulled from sale weeks after launch. And yeah, that's noteworthy because just a couple of days ago, there was a viral story in which Sony was making an announcement that 550 movies were being taken from people's libraries after they purchased it. Again, showing that people do not own any of this digital stuff. But this change.org petition does continue. It says, "Ending physical media removes consumer choice, weakens local economies, and hands a few platform holders total control over how and whether you can access the games you buy. We are not against digital, we are against digital being the only option. A large and passionate community still wants a real physical game they own outright, and Sony is about to take that choice away." And some of the top comments in this petition I think are very noteworthy just to bring up. We have one individual saying, physical media is what makes consoles the best place to play modern AAA games. It's the only decentralized local DRM solution that is both acceptable for publishers and provides sufficient ownership and user control to satisfy both sides. It is crucial for physical media to survive until digital ownership is sufficiently solved. My 30-year streak of supporting PlayStation depends on this decision. Don't betray your most loyal longtime customers, Sony. And many, many more comments like that echoing that same sentiment. And ultimately, right now, all we're getting out of Sony is silence, which is
Sony's response to that is honestly the same as my response, and that is, why the fuck have you been a loyal customer of goddamn Sony for 30 years? What's wrong with you? Why? Don't be a loyal anything. Stop. Why are you creating your identity about like a fucking console or whatever? That's just sad.
a deafening silence. We did have one industry veteran who worked at Sony, Naughty Dog specifically. He responded to this petition indirectly saying, in my opinion, there's only one petition that can make PlayStation reverse course on diskless, and that's if the PS6 does not sell. I do not see how anything else would work. And
the PS6 is probably not gonna sell. That's the trick.
And I think Sony is betting that people are going to cough up money for the PlayStation 6. I really do think that they are.
The only money you're gonna get from PlayStation 6, Sony, is the people who are gonna be willing to rebuy GTA 6. That's it. That's literally it. Nothing more, nothing less.
They're just hopeful that this is going to blow over. The outrage is going to be felt for now, but people are going to forget, especially once GTA 6 comes about in a couple of months. That's what they're hoping for right now. But I don't think that this issue is going away, and I think that they're facing long-term damage by trying to hope that people forget. Now, there is also the legal side of this in which, yes, the pressure is starting to mount. This is an article coming from BGR saying that Sony now faces a huge lawsuit for over $400 million as fans are left outraged. And yes, this is directly connected to Sony going in this all-digital direction. Although this lawsuit is not new. This is something that has been ongoing, but because of the recent events, it has found a little bit more recognition about what it is fighting. We also have some new comments coming from those who are suing Sony about the recent events. As WCCF Tech writes, the Japanese corporation is already defending itself in courts of law around the world over its monopoly on the PlayStation Store. In the US, a class...
Considering Sony has pretty much moved their headquarters and everything to America, I don't even know if it should be called a Japanese company any longer. Like, Sony has completely Vulcanized, not even westernized, just straight up Vulcanized itself.
Action settlement over allegedly inflated digital game prices won preliminary approval this spring. In the UK, a £2 billion lawsuit dubbed PlayStation You Owe Us, brought by consumer advocate Alex Neil, is now being fought in London's Competition Appeal Tribunal, with Sony arguing that its pricing reflects costs and the value of its platform, which is what they're going to argue about their $70 price for games that released 5 years ago in the future. I mean, that's what they're fighting for. They are fighting to sell these games never at much of a discount, because yes, that secondhand market has held Sony in check, and they do not like that. Now in the Netherlands, the fight has just begun after the first hearing a few days ago. Stichting Masashakda and Consume, I'm not even going to try to say that, but they are pressing ahead with the Fair PlayStation case on behalf of around 2 million Dutch players, seeking more than 400 million euros in damages over the so-called Sony tax. And they did reach out for a comment from this plaintiff in regards to the recent events, and this is what the chair of this company said in an exclusive statement. The end of physical discs removes the last place where a PlayStation game could still be bought and sold at a competitive price. No disc means no secondhand market and no alternative to the PlayStation Store. So from 2028, Sony alone decides what a game costs and even how long you are allowed to use it. That is exactly the harm our Fair PlayStation claim is about. A price can never be fair when the buyer is left with no ownership and no alternative. And while this lawsuit is getting massive attention, a movement like Stop Killing Games is just so important right now, because that is fighting for consumer rights when it comes to games ownership, period. And people supporting that cause, understanding the legal fights they're bringing all across the world. It really is something that needs to get more attention, because this is not going away. These issues, even if Sony eventually backs down, they're going to try this again, or another company like Xbox or somebody is going to try to make this change, because this is the future that a lot of these corporations are fighting for, and it should make consumers extremely worried. But right now, PlayStation is facing historic backlash.
Yeah, girl boss. Let's go. Absolute girl boss. By the way, I love how they are not even speaking about Ghost of Yotei any longer. They're just default It's just default going in the direction of Ghost of Yotei doesn't exist. It's actually all Ghost of Tsushima. Tsushima is getting an anime. Ghost of Yotei is getting nothing. Yeah, I know. Not exactly surprising, but still.
I mean, that's the best way to describe it. I mean, people even acknowledging that we have other chaos happening in the games industry, especially over there at Xbox. But yeah, like this person says, Xbox really just fired over 3,000 people and sold off at least 4 of their first-party studios, and it's still not as bad as that shit PlayStation announced last week. What a world. Another comment saying, I can promise you that if PlayStation doesn't revert their decisions on not making physical discs, then I will never touch a PlayStation 6. Which, I mean, for over $1,000, I really am curious to see how they're going to market that. I really am. Another individual, Nicola, saying, congrats to PlayStation for making the Xbox layoffs look like the weather section of the national news. Pio saying, Sony was hoping the Xbox layoffs would take over the news so they can keep acting normal. Instead, PlayStation made the worst announcement in company history, so the Xbox layoffs seem like no big deal. And then this content creator with 44,000 likes on this, if I tweeted Sony is effing dog doo-doo, I wonder how many people would reply with true. Sony is effing dog doo-doo. And yeah, 4,000 comments pretty much echoing that same sentiment. This is not going away no matter what Sony does. The damage is irreversible.
Yep, and that's pretty much it. Anyway, that was Legacy Killer HD. 10 out of 10. Sony is cooked. There's not a lot they can do at this point. Kind of absolutely crazy. And thank God he didn't look into the Jason Schreier video, but I have seen this clip where Jason Schreier's like, okay, this is why getting rid of physical media is good. Because it gives Sony 30% more revenue. What do you mean 30% more revenue? Sony is not selling shit on their platform. If it's physical 30, well, what's the difference? Physical 30% revenue loss? No, not revenue loss, but the actual profit margin loss? Or is it the Steam 30%? What's the difference? There is no difference. Because everyone knows that PlayStation sells most of their stuff on Steam. Like, look at Marathon. Marathon was supposed to be the PlayStation console game. 80% plus people bought it on Steam. And then there was a split between PlayStation and Xbox. PlayStation, granted, was edging ahead of 10%, but I mean, 10%. This is literally like your big game. And you still can't sell even a single copy on your own platform. Ridiculous. Anyway, PlayStation, go woke. Go broke. Actually, in this case, it's probably not even that much wokeness. Well, it does have to do with that. Anyway, PlayStation is done. It is what it is. I love it. Bye.